What is going on, gunfighters? Saddle up for another episode of Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting the right way, with God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. First and foremost, I am a Christian, a servant of God, and a follower of Jesus Christ. God has blessed me to do many things in my life, for I could do nothing apart from Him. U.S. Marine Corps combat veteran, did a couple of tours in Iraq. As an assaultman after my combat tours, I was an urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps under Mojave Viper. Also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. Also did several years in law enforcement, LAPD. I worked regular assignments and more specialized assignments. Been a private contractor for a 3-letter government agency. That's all I'll say about that. Been blessed to be a state rifle and pistol champion and West Coast regional rifle champion. Won more shooting competitions with the talent that God's given me than I can actually remember. Was blessed to be the commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area. Our primary job, the reason we primarily existed, was to stop active shooters. I got the opportunity to head up and be the commander of that team. I grew up around guns, hunting and shooting and competing at a very early age. Been blessed to hunt all over this beautiful country, from whitetail on the East Coast to mule deer on the West Coast, and bear and elk and all manner of things. I've even been a professional big game hunter and guide. But again, most importantly, I'm a Christian. And I am your host, Michael Milito. Welcome to Gunfighter Life. Is the Galil Ace the best Reece's rifle? Reece's rifle? Did I mean to say Recce rifle? No, I did not. I meant to say Reece's rifle. And you might be chuckling if you've listened for any length of time. You may kind of get that insider joke. There's a certain acronym used throughout the prepper community, the survivalist community, about when things get really bad, stuff hits the fan. Well, instead of saying the word that they normally say, because I like to keep this show kid-friendly and listenable to everybody, I say when the peanut butter and chocolate hits the fan. Peanut butter and chocolate kind of makes you think of Reese's, at least it does me, even though I generally don't eat candy or sugar or any of that junk, but you get the idea. A Reece's rifle. A rifle for when peanut butter and chocolate hits the fan. Is it perhaps the best option for a rifle for when things get crazy? Is it the best for that? I'm going to tell you right off the bat, because I don't like to bury the lead. I'm going to say no. There is no one best for that, right? It's situational. Really, a lot depends on you. What's your environment? Where do you live? There is no one best, right? If there was one best, then there wouldn't be all this debate, and I probably wouldn't have a show called Gunfighter Life. But let's say it's a hard to beat, and maybe the best for you. And I'm not just going to talk about it in that context. I want to talk about the rifle as a whole. Now, I did own a Galil Ace, and I did sell it. It was a fantastic gun, though. I didn't sell it because there was anything wrong with the gun. So let's start off today by laying some groundwork on what is the Galil Ace. And we'll talk about it, and then we'll get into this kind of end of the world as we know it rifle roll at the end. But some may say that the Galil Ace is the best AK ever made. And some people might get really mad at that and say, it's not even an AK. For some, like purists, an AK would only be, the original, like milled receiver, made in Russia proper, AK-47. Full auto variant, like that's an AK, and everything else is an abomination. I'm not that much of a purist. I'm more of a pragmatist. It has the operating system of an AK, and I would submit, of the variants that we can readily get, are some really cool variants. Of the things that the average American, or maybe if you're listening from another country, because praise God we have listeners from all over,
the average person can probably obtain, I'm going to say it probably is the best AK variant today. There probably are some better variants out there, but can you get them? And are they, if you can get them, are they so much of a unicorn that you're probably not going to use them? I'm going to submit, yes, they are probably the best available today AK variant, because they take some of the fantastic things about an AK-47 and they modernize it. It's not stuck in the Cold War era. You can easily mount a modern optic. I know that a lot of AKs you can kind of get a workaround way to mount some optics, but I mean you can just go down and pick up a Holosun or a Trijicon or Leupold, whatever optic you want, and slap it right on one of these. And that's a big deal. Optics are a force multiplier for sure. Whether you're talking about, well, we'll get into all the different variants here shortly. That is a big deal. So I would say better ergonomics. AK is a good rifle. It certainly is battle proven and battle effective, but I don't think anybody would concede that it has the best ergonomics. It is known for having like the best reliability and being bulletproof and easy to use, but the most ergonomic is not what it's known for. It gives you a little bit of better ergonomics. The safety in particular. Also, the AK iron sights. They are good combat iron sights. However, I think that a peep sight is better. I think most people that do any kind of shooting and training would admit that a peep sight is better. An aperture sight. The Galil Ace has an aperture sight. Not only just like some afterthought, like slap-on aperture sight, it comes with really, really good aperture sights. At least some of them do. I've seen some that came without them, but you can get them with really, really good aperture sights, like battle type iron sights, not just like an afterthought, again, not just something somebody slapped on there so they could give the token nod that it had iron sights, but good, usable, combat, robust iron sights. That's awesome. A lot of them will take the AR, and a lot of them have that AR style stock system. And because they don't have a buffer system, you can fold the stock, and not only fold the stock like you can get some ARs to do, but you can fire the gun with the stock folded. Left side charging handle, which if you've done a lot of running and gunning in that kind of training, unless you've really gotten used to the right side, I think the left side makes a lot more sense. Just a lot of good things going on with the Galil Ace. Really good. I do believe, because I saw it in two sources by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established, that the Galils have a cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel. That's awesome. And that's like battle proven military grade awesome barrel, quality there. Cold hammer forged chrome line is the standard and has been for a long time. That's fantastic. And it's built on that robust AK system. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I'm not sponsored by anybody, certainly not by IWI or Car Arms or whoever, but I'm on their website. I figure I'm talking about their product, so I'm on IWI's website looking up some of the variants. Now, I should say there was a time when you could have some really cool variants. I had one that was pistol braced, and it was a really short, handy, short-barreled AK folding stock thing, and it was really cool and handy. Now with the whole pistol brace thing, obviously if you have one, you have one, and if you don't, it's going to be, at least for now, an NFA item. So they do still have the SBR versions, and some of these are that. You obviously are going to have to know what that is and all those laws. If you live here in America, if you live in another place, that might not even apply. So I mentioned these were based off of the AK. So although not in the order on the website, I'm going to start talking about it with the classic AR round, the 7.62x39. I've done a whole episode on that cartridge, also one comparing it to the 5.56, but it's probably perhaps the best common intermediate round. It has really good ballistics for an intermediate round. It's phenomenal. That's a big reason it's still around and still so prevalent. It's effective. And they still make variants in 7.62x39. I'm looking at the Ace 31. It's kind of their smaller, shorter SBR version. Takes AK mags, which are also prevalent. They also make the Ace 32 if you want the full-length rifle version. Or I guess carbine version is a better way to put it, because even that is fairly short. But you get them, they take AK mags. They take the 7.62x39 cartridge, battle-proven mags, really good affordable mags, really good intermediate round. They also surprisingly list more variants in 5.56x45, which you should know you can also shoot a .223 out of. They make their smaller, short-barreled, whatever you want to call it, SBR, I guess now, that takes .223 AK mags. They also make a full-length version of that, and they also make an even longer rifle version of that, which is really cool. In addition to making the ones that take AK mags, they also very wisely, I think, make them that take the Stanag mags, that take the standard NATO magazines, meaning the same ones that go into your AR-15. Those mags are even more common and affordable, at least here in the US. Other places in the world may vary, but for us here in America, they're the cheapest, rifle carbine style magazines. So it's really wise of them to have them that come in both, and to have them that take the NATO magazines. If you have an AR, if you're an AR guy, you already have AR mags, or even if you don't, they're affordable magazines. And do I think the 5.56 is the best intermediate round? No, I just said that I think the 7.62x39 is, and I think it's better. But here in America, quantity as the quality all its own, to kind of steal a phrase I think from one of the Soviets and apply it here in America. Here in America, the 5.56 is a lot more common. There was a time when you could get really cheap surplus 7.62x39, but those days are kind of not so much anymore. For common availability of not just the dirt cheap garbage of bimetal ammo, but of really good ammo, affordability and availability really gets the nod in America for the 5.56x45, and I think it will continue to be that way for a number of years. Even if the military continues their adoption of the M5 or M7, I think it is now, and the 277 Fury, I don't imagine it's going to overtake the 5.56 in commonality anytime soon. So here in America, it's the most prevalent intermediate round, and it's still the standard issue for the U.S. Armed Forces, Marine Corps, Army, and the rest, right? And if you're a go big or go home kind of guy, they make the Galil Ace 52 in 7.62x51 millimeter, or 308, right? If you want a full battle rifle, full power rifle cartridge built on an AK and modern, there's nothing wrong with the Dragunov, but let's be honest, that round is kind of antiquated. If you want a modern full-size battle rifle based on the AK, then they have one, and that's pretty awesome. So whether you want a short little handy 5.56 SBR, you want a proper full-sized battle rifle, that's commonly referred to in survivalist circles. Nobody really uses that term, I don't think, in the military or anything, but I say it, you get what I'm saying. A full-size, full-power fighting rifle. They make one in 308, 7.62x51 NATO. And I know there's differences and variations in those rounds, but you know what I'm talking about when I say that. And the in-between, if you want the more traditional size, let's say 16-inch, 7.62x39. That's a pretty well-proven, world-renowned setup right there. But you want it modern, again, with good aperture sights. A cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel. You want it to take AK or AR magazines. You want to be able to mount a modern optic easily without some kind of crazy side mount or something, or something like that. So maybe you're just a connoisseur of this kind of stuff and you just want a really good variant of the AK. It certainly is that. I'd say it was a very good truck gun. That's what I had mine for. I had back in the day when it was legal the very short, handy 7.62 by 39. Then pistol, now I guess SBR. A fantastic gun. Why might this be the best? Or at least really, really hard to beat? Peanut butter and chocolate hitting the fan setup, a Galil Ace. I'm going to submit that, again, 5.56, not the best round as far as terminal performance goes, but a very good round and effective. And it's by far, again, the most common here in the US, and it probably will be for the foreseeable future. So if you expect hard times to be different than they are right now, doesn't it then make sense to have a rifle chambered in that? You might say, why not just get an AR? I'm going to be honest. I think the AK is a better operating system. And I know I'm American. Before you start criticizing me, I've went to war for this country twice. As you probably heard in the bio, I've served in 2 branches of the armed forces. I also, during the invasion of Iraq, had a catastrophic failure with my M16. Don't mean like a double feed or a triple feed or a bolt override even. I mean a catastrophic malfunction. It could not be fixed by the end user. It had to go back to the armory sometime when we had a lull in the fighting. Hopefully I didn't fight alone. I had a squad of other men. Now, so if that made you angry, I'm coming at this again. You come here hopefully for a real world first-hand experience. A lot of podcasts pontificate about different guns and things, but I've been blessed that God's gotten me through a very long and varied career as a professional gunfighter. I'm just going to tell you, I think the AK is a better operating system than the AR. If you look at the new M5, M7, it goes to a piston system. I think it's a better system. I don't think the US military would ever adopt an AK variant, mostly due to pride, even if they knew it was better. Because just pride, right? Admitting that the Soviets had a better weapon than us, or that system developed a better weapon than we have, or whatever the case is. Again, much as I've fought for this country and I'm willing to take up arms, again, I'm not a gun collector or sentimental really. I'm a pragmatist, and I think it's a better system. So if you can get, in my opinion, and you can disagree, a better system, a more reliable in adverse conditions system, more forgiving of hard times system, still takes very common, very prevalent 5.56 or 223 ammo and standard AR Stanag magazines with good usable aperture sights and the ability to mount a good modern optic, that is a hard weapon to beat. Now, I sold my Galil Ace and a couple of other guns to buy a SCAR 17, the SCAR Heavy. If you've listened for any length of time, you'll know that my one go-to long gun for Reese's times, for peanut butter and chocolate hitting the fan, is not a rifle at all. It's a shotgun. As much as I love rifle and train with rifle and have won many competitions and practiced with a lot more than a shotgun, again, I'm a pragmatist. I think a shotgun is a better tool for really hard times, because even with my life, and you've heard my bio, I've had to eat a lot more than I've been in gunfights. And for putting food on the table, the shotgun is an amazing tool. From anything from a mourning dove on up to the biggest land mammals in North America. A far better tool by any measure than a 5.56 rifle. So for me, it's the shotgun, and if I choose a rifle, and I do have a go-to rifle if I choose a rifle for this, it's a SCAR 17. I like the SCAR 17. Be my one rifle if I can only have one rifle. It's crazy accurate. It's not heavy as far as a full-size semi-automatic 308 rifle goes. It's 7.7 pounds. However, again, even me, back when I was making more of that big city money, I sold the Galil and put that money, I do believe, if I remember correctly, towards that SCAR 17. I'd wanted one of those for a long time. I was the commander of a tactical team to stop active shooters. I thought that was the best rifle for that, and I think that was a good decision. However, not everybody is in the price point that they can afford a SCAR 17, especially now. It seems like they've kept up with inflation and then some. So, And I just looked on Gunbroker to confirm, and indeed, the Galil Ace in whatever caliber seems to be far, far cheaper than a SCAR 17. Even than a SCAR 16. So whether you're comparing 5.56 to 5.56 or 7.62 NATO to 7.62 NATO, it's a far, let's say, more wallet-friendly version of a fighting rifle. And again, it's a good system. Mine, the quality on it was amazing. And I guess the Gen 2 is what I was referring to. The Gen 2 does not apparently come with iron sights. If it were me, I would certainly look for a Gen 1. I like iron sights. A lot of people might call me a troglodyte, a modern-day caveman, really old and antiquated, clinging to my iron sights. But I really like iron sights. And I think for this, if it's an actual Reece's rifle, iron sights make a lot of sense. If it's just a range toy or you just, competition gun or something, that's cool. But if I were using it or potentially had it for the use of a Reece's rifle, I would want those iron sights. So I might look for a Gen 1. And when I had my Gen 1, again, there was nothing wrong with that rifle, or I guess back then pistol. There was nothing wrong with it that made me want to sell it. It was a fantastic weapon and great quality, a great quality barrel. To be fair, some criticisms of this weapon, the dust cover on mine did seem very, very good. And that's what the optics get mounted on. Don't think that's as good a mounting system as some others. It's, after all, basically a piece of bent sheet metal. Depending on your philosophy of use, if you're going to mount a red dot on it, I'd say it's probably more than adequate for that. I don't think I would choose like the full-size one for a long-range setup, because I don't think it's the best optics mounting system. There's one criticism there. May or may not apply to you. The other one, I've heard that in the 7.62x39, it's overgassed. Now again, if it's a Reece's rifle, that might be a good thing. If it's a competition rifle, it might be a bad thing. Not sure if the same holds true for the 5.56x45. That's going to have quite a bit less recoil anyway, just because of physics. So maybe that's not even an issue. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you do. I just want to be fair here. And I don't like talking about, prices with inflation, because you might listen to this in a year. Who knows what the guns will cost then? However, I think in this price point, it's perhaps the best Reece's rifle. Whether you decide you want the more traditional AK size, 16-ish inch barrel, 7.62x39, or you want a small handy SBR, or you want a full-size battle rifle. Any of those in those price points. You could make some cases for some other weapons. Perhaps a CZ Bren 2. But I don't think you could make the case that either one is better than the other. And I don't think there is a one best. Again, if there is a best, then that's just what everybody would have. And there would not be this argument over AK versus AR and Glock 17 versus M&P. Or whatever the case is, right? That's kind of all this minutia and debate is kind of one of the reasons for the podcast. But a fantastic choice for just a good, solid, fighting rifle platform, a truck gun, and a Reece's rifle. I think it's a phenomenal choice. I think it's a really good gun, a really good proven system, and executed well. I don't think IWI gets as much of the market here as they probably should. They're a really good company. Israel, so you're not funding one of our enemies. They make a lot of really cool guns. Did you know that they make a 1911? And my experience, a very, very good one. They make a lot of good stuff, and the Galil Ace certainly is that. Anyway, with that, the tactical tip of the day, and this is something I did. Remember, one of these Galils was my go-to truck gun while I was doing stuff for the military. I was doing stuff here domestically, and I was in charge of a pretty big area from the border of Washington to the border of Montana and over. A big area. I was often driving around in government rides. I wanted a good go-to truck gun should something happen and I was far away from anything else. And this was my go-to truck gun. I had the 7.62x39. I like the 20-round mags in a lot of things, and I also think it makes a lot of sense for the small, handier versions of these. So if you have the older pistol version with the pistol brace, the thing that I would do is take a very simple Velcro strap, and I would put one spare magazine in that pistol brace. Would wrap the strap around there so that I could grab it out. I'd have to grab it and tug it pretty hard. It wasn't going to fall out on its own. That gave me an additional magazine on the rifle in stock, or the pistol brace. And if you have one of these versions with the pistol brace, you can do that too. You could also take that and apply it if you have one of the similar kind of AR pistol braces, if you decide you want to keep them after this whole thing going on with SBRs and AR pistols and whatever they are. I don't want to make this show really a political thing. Probably bombarded with politics and all that stuff all the time. But for practical use for that pistol brace, you can put a spare magazine in there. And I'm probably not a spare 30 rounder. You might look at a 20 rounder or even a 10 rounder. Don't worry, you will not turn into a communist by using a 10 round magazine. Sometimes they just fit really well. Like my go-to truck gun a lot of times rides inside my bug out bag. It has a 10 round mag in it because it fits inside the bag like that. It doesn't fit in with a 30 round mag. You might be able to keep a spare magazine wrapped up inside that pistol brace. Anyway, that's your tactical tip of the day, your tactical verse of the day. Tactical verse of the day from the book of Joshua. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. For to this people you shall divide an inheritance in the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then it will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. I see no contradiction in being a man of war and a man of God. David was a man after God's own heart. He was a mighty man of war. He slayed beasts and men. Moses, we think of him in a lot of ways, but he was a military commander. He commanded an armed force and led men in battle. So here we see Joshua doing the same thing. In fact, this morning before going into the gym, I was reading the story of Joshua taking and destroying the city of Jericho. Except for Rahab and her family, they slayed every person in that city. Again, I see no contradiction in being a man of war and a man of God. Make sure you're doing it for the right reason. It's important. We just read about the law and knowing the law. You shall not murder. There are just and prescribed times for killing in the Bible. You should probably know those, especially if you're a man that carries a gun. With that, thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.